In this video, I'm going to walk you through why you need to approach business and life in seasons to maintain momentum and also sustainability. I'm going to walk you through the different seasons that I've been through over the last couple of years, when you need to actually pull back, what balance looks like to me now in this season of life, and some of the struggles that I've definitely struggled with surrounding that. The push season that I'm about to enter into as of today, 8th of March 2026, and then the inputs that I'll be focusing on that's going to get me to that actual goal that I'm going to be aiming for over the next couple of weeks. Now, if we haven't met before, my name is Josh Bowers and I've been in the online coaching space now since 2019. I've made a little over $1.5 million cash collected. My first coaching offer was called the Bikini Body Project. This was a women's fitness coaching program, launched it in December of 2019, scaled it to $500,000 in revenue. We had 300 clients go through the program. At one point, I had 100 active clients on the team with no team supporting that, so it was just me. In December of 2022, I had a big crash out, closed the business down reactively, which I'll talk to you about briefly in a moment, and then jumped the fence to start my next business, which is Freedom Coach. Now, this is helping other online fitness coaches do exactly what I did, scale in the online coaching space, and I've been doing that since July of 2023. There is a gap between these two here because I definitely had a little bit of a hiatus in between, just sort of figuring out what my next move was in life. Now, the purpose of these videos is to just show you what has worked for me over the years, what hasn't worked for me, and then what I'm currently doing and also with my clients. Now, let's look at seasons. I've been through quite a few. So 2015 is when I started the whole fitness coaching thing. Was a personal trainer for a couple of years, and then, as you would know, in 2019 started the Bikini Body Project. Now, I scaled that business to $40,000 a month roughly, had about 100 clients in the program, and it was going really smooth at one point, but the growth became so fast that I couldn't keep up with it, and I had a few other side projects I was trying to juggle at the same time, which is just a terrible idea looking back on it. And my ego was so big at that point that I just refused to hire a team. So something had to give, and that thing was me. So I shut that business down, ended up having a big crash out. And during that time frame, I had gotten really, really good at running paid ads. And a few clients that I was helping in another business at the time were wanting some guidance with their paid traffic. So I started a done-for-you marketing agency where I was everything to do with VSLs and funnels and email marketing and writing ads and Facebook ads, the whole works. So I was running that, had a couple of clients on the team for that. And I think I was doing around $20,000 a month with that. That business grew extremely fast, purely just through word of mouth, which was fantastic. And this kind of just served as like a cash bridge to get me into what I'm doing now, which is Freedom Coach. So I had a couple of months of just sort of figuring out what I really wanted to do. And I had a bit of imposter syndrome around the whole business coaching thing because I just didn't feel like I had sort of earned my stripes in that arena. Finally got over that block, jumped into Freedom Coach, started that, and then this here should say big lock-in. Pretty much locked in for, I'm going to say 9 to 12 months straight. It was massive, just go, 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 go. And it was really good because I gained a ton of momentum in that business. Got the business up to around $20,000 to $22,000 a month, give or take, and then I went into a season of cruising. After a couple of months, I then decided to jump into a monk mode. I kind of had just discovered at that point, unintentionally was sort of already doing monk modes, if you know much about that, but essentially it's just like a focused season where you're just focusing on certain inputs within your business and life and kind of just minimizing and turning off any other external distractions from there. Now, I did that monk mode for pretty much 4 months straight. And then I realized that most people suggested 30 to 60 days, sometimes 90 as a max. I pushed through to 4 months straight, didn't really realize that I needed to slow down. Finally achieved all of the things that I set out to achieve, achieved all of that, finished it. And then all of a sudden got this massive amount of whiplash that came through and I was experiencing a hangover from monk mode for almost 2 months. I needed to recover from that, and that was a rough time because I had so much momentum and then kind of came to a halt. Now, the business didn't come to a halt, but my sort of output dramatically slowed down during that time. So then I jumped into a season of cruising pretty much up until the last month. So I cruised for, I'm going to say, the better half of about 10 to 11 months. During that cruising time frame, I sustained 40K months pretty consistently, which was great. and that was cash collected as well. And that was fantastic money. And I didn't have any push or desire to go beyond that. And that's why I sort of just cruised at that 40K a month mark, primarily because life was good. I could do everything I wanted. I was traveling, I was staying in cool places, and it was amazing. But now I have recently moved back to Australia. So during this time, I was living in Bali. I've moved back to Australia now, and I've just landed an apartment as of 2 days ago, which is freaking exciting. And in the next few weeks, I'm just going to gradually push into this next push season. Now, when we look at seasons, I like to approach things in a seasonal fashion in business. Seasons of just giving it a really solid nudge, and then seasons of just taking your time and just sort of enjoying life a little bit more. Now, this doesn't mean taking your foot off the gas, but when you have these focused blocks, it just allows you to be a lot more intentional with your time and energy instead of trying to be everything for everyone all of the time. And you'll notice if you catch yourself in these seasons where it's just always the same stuff of like craziness, it gets very full on and quite overwhelming. And then you can kind of catch yourself almost feeling like a little bit burnt out or a little bit sort of over things. Now, when should you actually pull back on one of these seasons? So we have seasons of pushing and seasons of cruising, if you haven't sort of caught on to that already. But when should you pull back? Well, you could look at pulling back when you're burning out. Now, for me, I don't really believe or buy into the whole burnout thing. I think people get, burnt out when they no longer enjoy something that they're doing anymore, or they're just taking on far too many things all at once. So their bandwidth is spread, and that makes them feel like they're burnt out. But I don't truly believe that they're actually burnt out at all. But if you're feeling burnt out, that's usually a good telltale sign to actually pull back from one of these like push seasons that you may be in. The next thing is important life things. So for example, over the last 2 months, I've been sort of in the process of moving from Bali back to Australia, and it hasn't really allowed me to focus on pushing. I've been trying here and there periodically, but it just hasn't been going as much as I want. So for me, that was an indicator of okay, I'm not at 100% capacity for the business right now, just due to life events. I just need to slow down a little bit. And then in the coming weeks, I'll turn the dial back up, which is exactly what I'm about to embark on. The next thing is your interests might actually change. You'd actually need to listen to yourself here. Like if your body is actually flogged out and you're feeling exhausted, then you need to slow down, right? You can't try and be a hero and just always push through things. You will eventually crash and burn. I don't really call that a burnout. I think that's just when you just have a crash out because you can no longer handle it anymore because you didn't listen to yourself, you didn't prioritize yourself. And then the other one is just obviously putting a deadline in place. So this monk mode, when I had here the first one, I actually set a 4-month time frame for that. That's why I pushed through, but I underestimated how much that was going to impact me. So next time if I do a monk mode, it's more than likely going to be a 90-day sort of sprint or something like that. But that's when to know to actually pull back on things. Now, let's talk a little bit about balance. This is an area of my life that I've struggled a lot with because, look, I'm definitely someone that I would say is extreme. I think a lot of entrepreneurs are already on that extreme end. And if I look at the 80-20 split here, for me over the last, I'm going to say 5 or 6 years, it's probably been 95, 5, 98, 2. There hasn't been much balance at all because I've just been obsessed about getting to new levels. But I realized in the last maybe 12 months that chasing money and status and materialistic things and different levels in your business is not the main focus in life, or shouldn't be the main focus in life. The main focus in your life should be working on your faith. It should be working on your relationships with your family and your friends and experiencing love and connection and community, because that's the most important thing above any financial level. I'm not saying that you shouldn't have aspirations. I think we should all be striving for goals, but putting this at the absolute top, as the outcome or the goal, is not necessarily how you should be structuring things, in my opinion. I think money and achievements is the outcome of the work, but it's not the goal itself. The goal itself should just be to have, like I said, love, family, and connections within your life, and obviously a relationship with God if you are someone of faith. Now, when it comes to balance for me these days and how I'll be approaching things moving forward, is definitely this 80-20 split. So for me, there'll be a big sort of focus on golf over the next couple of months. It's something that I want to get into. For me, I find it's somewhere where I can actually just completely switch off and almost get some validation from something else that isn't just business, because I have noticed that my identity is heavily tied to just business and going to the gym, which is a little bit boring if you ask me. But obviously we're looking at balancing work and life. So for me, there will be this 80-20 split of working a lot. Don't get me wrong. I'm definitely going to be putting the reps in when it comes to my business, but also just enjoying life a little bit more as well. Spending time down at the beach, taking some short trips away here and there. This is something that I always had promised to myself, but have never really followed through on. And now that's something that I will be doing now that I actually have a home base. For the last 3 years, roughly, I've been traveling quite a bit, Bali, Dubai, Australia, Turkey, all over the place. And even though I've still been able to maintain the business and move it forward, I don't feel like I've been able to move it forward as best as I could because I haven't really had that solid home base. I haven't had my solid home set up where I feel like I can really just be in my element, in my house, and do my thing. And if you've been someone if you are someone who's lived a nomadic style lifestyle before, you would know what it's like. Yeah, sure, you can be in an Airbnb for a month or 2 months and feel like kind of like settled, but you don't get this fully settled, I'm at home type feeling. And now that I have a home base, well, I will in about 3 weeks' time once I actually move into my place based on the time of recording this, I feel like I can actually just like purely focus, but also mixing in some short trips in life to actually have some balance, because I think this is the thing that offsets some of the fatigue that can come from just working 24/7. Now, let's have a chat about the push season that I'm about to enter into. So over the last few months, the business has done anywhere from sort of 30,000 to 48.9, I think was the highest in the last couple of months, cash collected. So it's doing decent, but my main focus now over the next 3 to 4 months is going to be building up the monthly recurring revenue to 40K a month. So at the moment, my recurring revenue is sitting at about, I think it's like 26.9, 26.8, somewhere around there. So just round it off at say $27,000 a month recurring. I tend to always land on about 38 to 40,000 cash collected once you get renewals and new signups and things like that coming through. But my objective is to raise the monthly recurring revenue, and then obviously any sales and cash collected on top of that is just going to be an added bonus. From there, I want to get my Instagram account from, I think it's at about 8,300 followers at the moment. So ideally I want to boost it up to about 10,000. My YouTube subs, I want to get that to 500, and I'm hoping by posting these types of videos quite often, I'm going to grow that quite fast, but it's sitting at about, I think, a cute little 210, something like that, which it's only a baby, but it would be nice to slowly grow that as time goes on. But the two really big focuses here is simplification and then feeding the flywheel. So as an entrepreneur, we can have this tendency to want to provide a lot of value and give and give and give. And what can come with that is building and building and building, and you're always just creating things. And you end up with this, small little business in the beginning, and then it just builds and it builds and it builds and it builds. But what can happen sometimes is you can end up with a Frankenstein where you have so many different moving parts and so many things that you've created over the years that it's just a little bit overwhelming. So my objective over the next 3 to 4 months is to pretty much redo, not the entire platform that I have, which is a school course. I don't want to redo the entire thing, but there is a lot of content within that is only actually like 6 months old, to be honest. But there's a lot of content within my course that I would love to just heavily trim down, right? I want to improve by subtraction. And the cool part is by simplifying things, it makes it easier for myself, but it also makes it easier for my clients to implement as well. So simplification is going to be a big thing over the next couple of weeks and months. The business itself is already simplified. Like, heck, I can run this thing in a couple of hours a day. If I'm not building and not creating content, I literally could spend 1 to 2 hours a day max to keep the business sort of alive and keep the lights on, I guess you could say. But obviously the objective is to grow, but I don't want the business to turn into a Frankenstein at the same time as this growth happens. The next thing is then feeding the flywheel. Now, the way that social media works in 2026 is you can't just put up a call to action anymore and have somebody buy it. You can't just run one ad or post up one VSL and expect it just to rain with clients. You really need to create know, like, and trust with your audience. And the best way to do that is just continuing to put deposits into the trust account with your audience, which will inevitably feed this flywheel. So the work that I do today and the work that you do today, you don't see any immediate results from that. And that can get a little bit frustrating because it feels like you're doing things, but nothing actually happens. But you actually experience this lag effect that comes through, and the work that you do today will often be the fruit that you'll reap 2-3 months from now. And the work that you do today is also feeding that flywheel. And now the way that a flywheel works is it starts off slow, but then as time goes on, it builds up momentum and it starts to increase in speed and velocity. So my objective is to try and get that flywheel moving as fast as possible over the coming months by heavily focusing on inputs. Now, a lot of the time, you'll get people that want to make leaps in the growth in their business, right? They want to jump up levels, but they just get focused on the money or the amount of clients, but not necessarily the work that's going to get them there, and also the identity that they need to adopt to become the person who's at that level that they already want to get to. So when we look at inputs, these are the actions that you take day to day and also week to week that are going to ensure, or ideally best guarantee, that outcome is going to happen. The easiest way to explain inputs that you'll understand is think about tracking the macronutrients that you have to track every single day if you're losing weight. Protein, carbs, fats, you've got X amount of numbers you need to hit. But what you know is that the numbers that you hit today, you don't really see any weight loss on the scale today. You don't see any weight loss in 7 days. It usually takes like 14, 21, 28, 3 months before you actually see the time, before you see the weight loss come through, Like on day 7, you don't see anything. On day 14, you might see some changes, or you might have seen a little bit of a drop on the scale. By day 28, you can actually now notice some results happening with your body. But the reason why those results started to come through in the first place was because you were hitting your macros every single day. And that's exactly how it's going to work in your business, is you have macro targets you need to be hitting every single day. So for me, this is going to be a really simple process. Like there's only a couple of things that I need to be focusing on. So it'll be a daily YouTube video. And I know that's going to be quite the commitment, but the plan is just to create short 5 to sort of 15-minute long videos, just like the one that you're watching right now, where I'm just walking through a document or a Miro board like this. And I'm just going to be putting out those every single day. Now, my objective with these videos, as you would have heard me say in the beginning, is just to provide you with some value and insights. Like I just want to show you what's worked, what hasn't worked, and what I'm doing right now. But I do know that this is a very large deposit into the trust account of my audience. And if I can do this every day, it's like depositing $50 a day instead of just $1, right? Moving on from there though, is I will be then focusing on feed content. So the goal here is daily posts. If I can get 2 out in the day, amazing, but minimum is going to be 1 post a day, Instagram stories, anywhere from 5 to 10 plus per day. With this said, there will be sort of like mini breaks with this. And when I say mini breaks, you would know that if you're sort of punching out 5 to 10 plus stories a day, your story views can decline quite a little bit and quite fast. So my main sort of focus with this will be lots of story sequences, 5 to 10 plus of these a day, lots of talking head stuff, lots of client results, education value, days of my life, all that sort of stuff to, again, put deposits into the trust account. But what I'll also do here and there is just take probably 1 day off every so often. And this just gives the audience a bit of a breather. If not, bare minimum would be putting up 1 slide. And there's a little sort of trick for you. If you were just to put up 1 image with like a poll or something that people can engage with, that actually signals to Instagram that you're getting lots of views and lots of engagement, and it actually boosts up the engagement on your stories as well. So I'll be punching out 5 to 10 of those a day. And then from there, I'll be running and testing ads, ideally the follower ads, and then also looking at running retargeting ads too. The retargeting will be just retargeting back to my Instagram followers, and the follower ads is going to be just obviously building out my audience. Now, you wouldn't need to run ads, but coaches who are doing 40K plus a month are generally always running ads. Some people will say you don't need ads, but for me, if I was to just focus on the YouTube video, the feed post, and the stories, I am going to make sales. My business is going to grow. But if you know how to run ads effectively, which I definitely do, this is going to allow you to just add gas onto the fire. But that's it for this video. I'll see you in the one tomorrow. Hope you got a lot of value.